Hello, it's me, James Arthur, and I'm sitting here in front of the stage at Flux Bar, and we're gonna do an acoustic show tonight, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, ready? Do it? I guess the bit I'm looking forward to doing the most is probably in Bittersweet Love. It's pretty aggressive. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. I need just a bittersweet love, not your bittersweet love. I need just a bittersweet love, not your bittersweet. So that's kind of the main hook of the song. Always, always. Singing was a part of, I think it was a part of me from a very young age. Because my mum and my dad are both obsessed with music, obsessed with bands and artists and stuff. And so for as long as I can remember, I was singing along to the music my mum was playing in the kitchen, and she'd be like cooking and she'd be playing Elvis Presley, and she'd always had the movies on, and just like amazing singers in the house. And my dad was playing rock music, and so I kind of I was hearing an eclectic bunch of music from a young age, and I would just sing along to the songs, and my mum would be very encouraging and say like, say really over-the-top things like, "You're the best singer I've ever heard," and all these kind of things, and just really give me a lot of confidence to sing. And so I just remember it being a part of me from a very young age. Yeah, in terms of vocalists, it started off with, like I said, Elvis Presley, Stevie Wonder, Prince, all the greats my mum was playing. And then, my dad would be playing The Who, and Bryan Adams was one of my early favorites. I just loved the texture and the grit in his voice. That really resonated with me, and a singer called Kelly Jones from the Stereophonics. And of course, that Britpop movement where it was all about angst and grunge and all those things that were in Kurt Cobain. There's so many great, I haven't mentioned many female singers, but there's a lot of great female singers as well that I was hearing, Celine Dion, and yeah, just the power balladeers and stuff. And so, yeah, just so many people really. But I think the singers that I've clearly taken the most influence from are the ones that have that sort of more raspy tone. My dad took me to a karaoke competition in my hometown, a place called the Crown and Anchor. It was a bit of a rough working man's club kind of thing, and so it was quite intimidating, but I got up and I sang Everything I Do It For You by Bryan Adams. and everyone in the room was crying, and I was like, oh shit, maybe I can do this, maybe. It was the first time that I saw that I had the ability to move people with my singing, and that felt really good. And it was probably the beginning of me wanting to be a professional singer. Always, always. I remember the first song I wrote. Well, I wrote one with my little sister when we were really young. Not my little sister, my older sister, Sian. And we used to make songs up. That's the beginning of my songwriting journey. We used to make up daft songs. We called ourselves Turbulence. I don't remember any of those songs, but I do remember the title of the first song that I ever wrote was called Grey Skies, but I don't remember really what it was. I think it was like, it's because I learnt those, I learnt those, like, the Oasis chords, Wonderwall chords, and so, like, anything I did was with those chords. So I think it was something like... Is that... Maybe it was higher, actually. Figure this out. I kind of remember the melody, but it's going to take me a minute to sort of figure out the sort of shape of it. I think it was like... Grey, grey skies, you wish you'll never grace my life, but I wish you'll never let the something like that.
Gray skies. You wish you'd never grace my life, but I wish you'd never left.
Something like that. Was like, maybe it's higher.
Gray skies. I wish you'd never grace my life, but I wish you'd never left.
I think that this is a lot better than that was, probably, to be honest, even though that's not very good. But yeah, it was called Grey Skies, and I think it was like teenage angst. I was depressed about a girl, I think.
Always, always.
My voice is pretty battered, to be honest. It's been ragged around a lot over the years. I describe it now as like an old car that you have to warm it up for quite a while before it gets going, or like a valve amp or something. It takes a minute. Long before I was signed to a label, I was like playing in pubs and clubs where you don't have in-ear monitors and all these kind of things, so you're always reliant almost on the bounce of the room and stuff, and I would just like croak and scream through songs just to be heard above the noise, you know. And I think I probably did quite a bit of damage in the early days. And I would lose my voice a lot in the early part of my career because I was struggling so much trying to, you know, find a balance between that feeling I would get in a room where I could just hear my voice filling the room and then having it in isolation. It's only really in the last few years that I've kind of like realized that I need to relax more, really. That's probably the main thing for me personally, to keep my voice from going all the time. It's just to have more composure, to not sing as loud, and to think about the dynamics more than I used to. And that really has taken experience for me. I'm still pretty raw, you know, in terms of like how I perform. And so when embarking on a long tour like I'm about to do, I've really got to chill out, you know, and not give too much.
Always, always.
So a lot of my songs, like, I'll be honest, for want of a better word, I've sort of taken the piss to start with. It just starts and I could just be doing an impression of like another singer or something. And that kind of helps to spark something. So like this one, it's like Talking Heads or Meatloaf or something, but I was just doing this thing where I was going.
She's such a loner. They always tell her to smile. Look at her, told you. She comes to love in the night. Then she turns into a butterfly.
It was kind of a joke, really. And then thankfully Steve Solomon, who's been such a big part of this latest project, was so encouraging in kind of just saying, like, just express yourself and let's just pretend that we're a band and let's like just jam and just make stuff that like is fun. And so yeah, a lot of the time it starts with a phrase or like a melody, and most of the time for me it's a melody and like and like just messing around. And again, it was just such a load. And it was like I was laying it on thick. It was kind of like dialing it up to 100, and then we find, you know, we dial it back a bit and find something that feels authentic to me. Typically for me, we'll start with a melody or a phrase, and then if that feels good, if that moves me, then I let that be the yardstick for anything that I'm prepared to build around, you know?
It's a burn it down, leave no evidence.
I'm trying to think how the chorus went.
Oh Lord, I did it again.
My voice is fucked, by the way. And another one was Blindside. Blindside was like... I had the word blindside in my phone, in my notes. And the melody, all I had was...
Yes. 'Cause you caught me on my blind side. Right place at the wrong time. And I don't wanna lose the ghost of you. 'Cause you caught me on my blind side. You were once in a lifetime. What do we love the ones we lose? I'm haunted by the ghost of you.
But yeah, it was just a little chorus, and then it grew into something bigger, and yeah, that's kind of it, really. The way that you find out how best to present a song once you've written it is to probably try and perform a few different incarnations of that song. You know, you'll hear an acoustic version of that tonight. We kind of did that in the studio as well. It's always good to start on an acoustic guitar or a piano, I think, when writing a song, because the chances are, if it feels good in its rawest form, it kind of reveals how good the song is, really, you know, because if you feel like, okay, this acoustic version could actually engage a group of people and we can connect with this version, then it feels like, okay, now we have something that we can actually build upon and expand. I think that's why I'm grateful that I kind of have always written like that, to start small and then build. And yeah, you can always take things away, you know. You can always reduce things, you know, whereas if you start full, it's hard to tell what's right and what's wrong to take away from the composition, I think. Trust is the biggest part of that whole process, and that environment and that culture. I can't work with people that I don't, not to say that I can't work with people that I don't know, but if I know people and they know me, and I know that they trust me and they feel trusted by me, that's a perfect environment to make mistakes in. And I think making mistakes is a hugely important aspect of making any art. You know, it's to not be afraid to fuck up, not be afraid to say the wrong thing, not be afraid to like throw out a lyric into the room that could be ridiculous, you know, in theory. I've never enjoyed doing the whole traveling around different studios, working with lots of different people. I've always found that very difficult, because in order to make anything that's going to move people in some way, it's going to inspire people and make them feel something, you have to be as vulnerable as possible in the songwriting process. And so for a lot of this current album, I had one of my best friends in the room who's also a singer-songwriter called Jamie. Although, you know, I don't need him to offer me his melodies or even his lyrics or you know, I really value, and I think a very important part of that process is somebody just encouraging me and telling me that what I'm doing is good. And I think that's why working with Steve is so good. Steve obviously throws out great ideas and lyrics and structures and things like that, and is an amazing musician. But the thing that I think that he does really, really well is help harness the story and help guiding me in the right way. And I think having people in the room that you feel have got your back is super important. There's a good 2 hours of gibberish that happens when writing a song. Yeah, it's just like, once you have a melody and you can fit that into a structure and a chord sequence that feels good, then the pressure's on to then slot the right words into those melodies and the notes within the melody. You're sleepwalking. There was a lot of me just ringing around those chords. I'll wait, I'm trying to someone else's. That went on for maybe 2 hours. I mean, Steve probably wanted to fucking punch me by the end of that. There's so much of that goes on. Because it's not just about the melody, it's about the intonation and where the notes land and the length of the notes. It's so nuanced, I guess, that, you know, the final product that you hear, there's a lot of thought that's gone into it. A lot of the time, yeah. Always, always. Obviously, I have a song called Say You Won't Let Go. That's pretty much all I need to do in that song. The rest of it is the crowd take over, and to have a song like that, I suppose it's a bit like Robbie Williams with Angels or Wonderwall for Oasis. Like, there's no reason to sing it. The crowd will do it. But yeah, it's always it's almost a moment of relief, you know, especially right now when I'm playing a lot of new material in a show, and you're always grappling in your head with, are the audience into what we're doing? Or do they like the new material? And when you do, at that point, it's like, okay, everything's fine, you know, because they let you know that they know that tune. Yeah. Yeah, a recent one that I wrote is one I'm very proud of. It just feels like it feels like the old me when I started. I wrote this pre-chorus first. I'm on my 5th album now, and so it's sometimes difficult to try and tap into the rawness, you know, like and not overthink stuff. And Sleepwalking is a song from the new album that I really didn't overthink. I just started singing this part that goes,
Oh, wait, oh, wait. I'm trying to matter in someone else's eyes.